Yokohama, a port city that opened Japan up to the world, home to a bustling Chinatown, stunning waterside developments, and a cup noodle museum, and a football scene like nothing you've ever witnessed. Glory, heartbreak, and miracles. So put down those cup noodles and sit back, because things are about to get wild. Let's start with Yokohama F Marinos. Notice that F in their name? You'll want to make a note of that because it's going to be very important later. The club's history goes back to 1972 when they were founded as Nissan Motors SC. Before this, the company ran a successful baseball team and only started a football club to give their employees something to do when it was the baseball off-season. It turned out to be a good idea. Nissan Motors SC were immediately on the pace, taking just 5 seasons to reach Japan Soccer League Division 2. Being in the second tier of Japanese football didn't faze Nissan, who finished second in 1977 and 78, and in 1979 they reached the top tier. It had taken only 7 seasons. In 1983, Nissan won their first piece of silverware, picking up the Emperor's Cup. 4 more would follow in the JSL era. They also went on an incredible winning streak in the JSL Cup, lifting it 3 years in a row. Despite being cup specialists, Nissan Motors never won the JSL Division 1 title, but this league title curse would be well and truly banished in the J.League. Nissan entered the newly formed J.League in 1993 as a founding member under the name Yokohama Marinos, and by 1995 they were J.League champions, ending Verdy Kawasaki's title winning streak. Marinos added more silverware to their collection in 2001 by winning the Levan Cup, and in the following year they moved into Yokohama Stadium, the venue of the 2002 World Cup final. And life in the new stadium started pretty well, and by pretty well I mean spectacularly. Marinos won back-to-back league titles in 2003 and 2004 and looked set to become the new powerhouse of Japanese football. But it wasn't to be. It would be another 15 years before they once more celebrated as league champions. In 2013, the club won the Emperor's Cup for a 7th time, and in the following year, the club became part of the City Football Group portfolio, with the holding company of Manchester City buying a 20% stake in Marinos. City Football Group's involvement didn't immediately translate into success, but the club raised eyebrows in 2018 by hiring former Australia national team manager Ange Postecoglou. The Australian arrived with high expectations, and he met them in his second season, leading Marinos to their 4th J.League title. Marinos are one of the most important teams in Japanese football. Along with Kashima Antlers, they're the only original J.League team to have never been relegated from the top flight. They're also second only to Kashima in J.League titles. And there's one more thing about Marinos, that F in their name. It didn't appear until 1999, but that one little letter packs a punch of history and meaning, success and despair. It stands for Flugels. Yokohama Flugels were no flash in the pan. Their history goes back to 1964 and the formation of Naka Ward Boys Club. More on this club later, because they also played an important role in another of Yokohama's football clubs. The Japanese airline ANA got involved with Naka Ward Boys Club in 1979. At this time, the club were playing in the local Kanagawa leagues, but with this investment from ANA, they progressed, reaching the Regional Kanto Soccer League in 1982 and the National JSL Division 2 in 1984. In the Japan Soccer League era, the team were known as ANA SC, and they recorded a best place finish of second in Division 1 in 1989-90. As one of the JSL frontrunners, ANA SC joined the J-League as a founding member in 1993 under the name Yokohama Flugels. Flugels were a solid J-League team, recording a best place finish of 3rd in 1996, missing out on the title by just 3 points. But it was in the Emperor's Cup where the club really shone. They won the tournament for the first time in 1995 and reached the final again in the 1998 season for one of the most poignant cup finals in the history of Japanese football. Before Flugels entered the J-League, Saruulaa had invested in the club alongside ANA. For a time, the team were even known as AS Flugels, the AS standing for ANA Saruulaa. But in 1998, Saruulaa decided to withdraw their financial support. ANA felt unable to continue as the club's sole backer and sought a way out. And the answer they found was a devastating one for the fans. ANA met with Nissan Motors, the owners of Yokohama Marinos, and it was decided that the two clubs would merge to become Yokohama F Marinos. But the action was more akin to Marinos absorbing Flugels. Just 5 Flugels players transferred across to Marinos, and all that was left of the former club was the letter F in the name of their cross-city rivals. Against this backdrop, Flugels went on a run to the Emperor's Cup final, where they would meet Shimizu S-Pulse at the National Stadium on January 1st, 1999. It was to be the last ever game for Yokohama Flugels, and the club ended their time in Japanese football on a high, winning the game 2-1, sparking bittersweet celebrations. Fans gathered to celebrate at Shin Yokohama Station, before the players enjoyed a lively after party. There were also some heartfelt speeches. And he was right, Flugels wouldn't disappear completely. Just months after Flugels won the Emperor's Cup, the fans had already mobilised. A large section of Flugels supporters were, understandably, unwilling to switch allegiance and follow Marinos, so they started their own club and made history. Yokohama FC became the first supporter-owned professional sports team in Japan, a country long dominated by corporate clubs. The newly formed team wanted to immediately join the J-League in 1999, feeling that they had a rightful place considering what happened to Flugels. But the JFA would only allow Yokohama FC to join the JFL, one step below the J-League. The club were also unable to gain a J-League license, so despite winning the JFL in their first season, they couldn't get promoted. However, in 2000 they won the JFL again, and this time had their license, putting them back in the J-League just 2 years after the demise of the Flugels. Winning the JFL was one thing, but competing with established J-League teams was quite another. So life in J2, the second tier of Japanese football, wasn't easy for Yokohama FC, with the club never finishing higher than 8th and usually languishing near or at the bottom of the league. Finances were also tight, with players taking their own kits home to wash them. And then came 2006. Against all the odds, Japan's first supporter-owned club, one that had risen from the ashes of the Flugels, won the J2 title and would enter the top flight in 2007, just 9 years since their founding. And in only their second game in J1, the dream continued. The fixture list set up an early season clash against Yokohama F Marinos. It was a tinderbox atmosphere at Mitsuzawa Stadium, with emotions running high, both on and off the pitch. And unbelievably, Yokohama FC won the game 1-0 to the utter dismay of the Marinos fans and to the incredible jubilation of the Yokohama FC support. But this isn't Hollywood, and cold hard reality soon caught up with Yokohama FC. The win over Marinos was one of only 4 all season in the league. Later in the year, Marinos got revenge, and then some, by smashing Yokohama FC 8-1 at Nissan Stadium. Yokohama FC finished bottom of the league with 16 points and were relegated back to J2 after just one season. But that wasn't the end of the story. In 2012 and 2018, Yokohama FC reached the promotion playoffs, but fell short both times. And then, in 2019, they finished second in J2, securing a return to the big time. This time, it was to last, with Yokohama FC finishing 15th out of 18. There was no relegation in the 2020 season, but the club would have been safe even if there was. Today, Yokohama FC are famous for Kazuyoshi Miura, or King Kazu, who still turns out for the team at the age of 53. He's the world's oldest professional footballer, still playing in the top flight, and holds the record for the oldest goal scorer in professional football. They also have 42-year-old Shunsuke Nakamura on the books. Gert Engels said the Flugels would never disappear, and he was right. The spirit of the club thrived as Yokohama FC. Their success has created one of the most unique rivalries in world football, and scripted an inspirational story that shows football is absolutely nothing without fans. There's one more J.League club in Yokohama, one that shares a history with their cross-city rivals, YSCC. YSCC stands for Yokohama Sports and Culture Club. Their history goes back to 1964 and the formation of Naka Ward Boys Club. Yes, that's right, Yokohama Flugels and YSCC came from the same club, and once again, A&A play an important role in this story. The purpose of Naka Ward Boys Club was as a place where elementary school students could learn the game, but as the years went by, the club developed and became more competitive. In 1975, they changed their name to Yokohama Soccer Club, and in 1979, A&A got involved. The original members, who started Naka Ward Boys Club, felt the club was becoming too reliant on the financial backing of A&A. Great foresight, considering what happened to the Flugels. So, in 1986, some of the original members decided to break away and form a new club. They called it Yokohama Soccer and Culture Club, with the aim of developing local culture through football. The club they originally started back in 1964 continued and ultimately became Yokohama Flugels. YSCC started out in the Kanagawa Soccer League, but it wasn't until the early 2000s that they started making an upward move. In 2002, the club became an NPO and changed their name to Yokohama Sports and Culture Club to reflect the other sports they provide, such as tennis, badminton and basketball. The club gradually progressed and reached the national level Japan Football League in 2012. And in 2013, YSCC met the requirements for a J.League license and joined the inaugural J3 season in 2014. The club have been a mainstay in the third tier since then. Their league positions over the years may not have been the most striking, but there's more to this club than meets the eye. The club's current head coach, Yuki Stalph, told J.League Register YSCC cannot offer football in the same quality that Yokohama Marinos is presenting it. Neither do we have the budget to acquire legendary players like King Kazu or Nakamura, who might bring glamour to the club. We have our sweet side as well though, and we can show refreshing, young, attacking football from local boys around the corner. That is why I value Yokohama-born or raised players a lot. It's a refreshing approach, and one that sets them apart, not just in Yokohama, but in all of the J-League. Long may it continue. So that was Football Destinations Japan, Yokohama, a football scene unlike anything else. Thank you for watching, and feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. And a huge thank you too for the incredible response to episode 1 of this series, which was on Tokyo. And please keep your recommendations coming for future episodes. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing for more videos on all things Japanese football. Thank you for watching.